Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Leo Pike and welcome to the latest episode of Figma Weekly, your one-stop source for the latest news and resources on Figma. Today we're going to be talking about some updates that they made to variables, Jambot, the latest way to bring AI and ChatGPT into Figma, and HTML to design that will allow you to pull web pages into your Figma layouts as design. So getting started with the Figma.com release notes, of course you could come here or you could subscribe to my channel and I'll walk you through the latest updates every week. So first, they made a lot of updates to variables. This is still a beta feature. If you're not comfortable with variables, I recommend Figma tutorial using variables like a pro by DesignWITHArash. It's my favorite tutorial on variables, and of course I'll put a link below. So I have a layout here that has some variables that are allowing me to jump between dark mode and light mode here. You can see I have a lighter version of this card on the left and a darker version on the right. And so if we look at my local variables, you'll see that I have tokens with color variables, a spacing system, and some primitives. So the updates that they made here is one, if you go over here to edit variable, you'll see that there's just a bunch more options here for editing and scoping your variables. So if you only want colors or spacing to apply to things like your fill or just your shapes or your stroke, that's now all available under edit variable. The next feature that they added is called code syntax, and you see that down here. This is really for developers. If you click the plus button, you can select web, Android, or iOS. And this just adds a little bit of extra definition and code. So when you pass off your designs to your developers, they can make it a little bit easier on their part to do their job. And finally, another great update that they made is that you can now do mass changes. And what I mean by that is you can shift click to select all of your variables in a particular group, and right click and you'll see a new function called edit variables. And if you click this, you'll see that I can change my scoping, and instead of having to apply these individually, now I can apply them to all variables at once. So those are the updates to variables. Next, let's talk about some really exciting new resources this week, starting with Jambot. So to access this, you click on the Community tab and you search for Jambot. And you're looking for this one here by Adam Rosen. This brings the power of ChatGPT right into Figma. I like to save it by clicking on Saves and jump right into a FigJam. It works on Figma or FigJam, but since I'm here, I can select it right from my widgets. This is great if you work for an organization that blocks ChatGPT, or you just don't want to jump back and forth from a bunch of windows. So here's all its functionality, and it basically wraps ChatGPT into a system that you can prod it. And so the first one is you can have it help you with brainstorm, with ideate. So let's say I'm looking for some ideas for a cat app. I can click cat app and click ideate. That was really fast. Sometimes I've seen it take 3 to 5 seconds, but sometimes it's just instantaneous. And it's given me an idea for a cat exercise app, a cat puzzle app, and some other things. And you can also start here and use some of Jambot's functionality to take this further. So another function of Jambot is similar stuff. Let's say that I like this idea of an exercise app, or I like this idea of a virtual reality cat app. I can click similar stuff and show me, and it will give me other types of virtual reality apps. So that's similar stuff. So what else can you do with Jambot? Quick question is probably what you're most familiar with in terms of what ChatGPT can do. So in this case, you can enter your subject, which is a subway system in New York, and you can ask a question about the subject. How many lines did it start with? and it will spit you out an answer similar to how most people interact with ChatGPT. In this case, it was 9. Another functionality of Jambot is rabbit hole. And this is if you have a specific subject, but now you just really want to dig deeper. So if I click rabbit hole, you can see it'll give me options of different ways that I can explore this concept further. Maybe I want to dive into the history. Maybe I want to dive into the expansion. Maybe I wanted to dive into technological developments. Rabbit hole gives you these prompts and the ability to do this. But whoa, it gave me this big block of text, and I'm definitely not interested in reading large blocks of text. Well, that's great, because another functionality of ChatGPT plugin is summarize. And this is available natively if you want to start with something that you want to summarize. Or in this case, I'll click summarize on this large paragraph here, and I can either have it re-spit out to me as bullet points or a TLDR. And so you'll see if I click bullet points, it'll give me this unearthly paragraph in some simple to read bullet points. Another feature of Jambot is rabbit hole. Let's say I want to learn more about a subject, but I'm not really sure what I want to know about it. So let's start with Taco Bell and click rabbit hole. You'll find here that it'll prompt me with a bunch of different subjects that I can learn more about, whether it's the fast food industry, the impact of fast food on public health, marketing strategy of Taco Bell, advertising campaigns. Rabbit hole really lets you take a simple concept and dig a lot deeper into it. So let's explore some more Jambot functionality. Another one is rewrite this. So this allows you to apply a perspective to a subject and have it written. In this case, you have to brush your teeth. And this wants me to write it as a polite and assertive Slack message, but I think it would be more interesting to hear it as a Republican politician, since the debate was last night. Rewrite it. It's absolutely imperative that you consistently gauge in the act of brushing your teeth. So if you want to apply a personality or a tone of voice, or you want to make some piece of writing feel more on brand, this is a great way to do this with rewrite as. And then finally, another functionality that you can select natively from Jambot is going to jump to turn this into. I'm going to start with our subject here about brushing your teeth. And you'll see that if I select turn this into, I can select song, joke, poem, story, or a haiku. And so I'll just select haiku. And you can see that it gives me a haiku, imperative task, brushing teeth, daily routine, health, smile, brighten. And lastly, Jambot lets you code this up, which you can ask it to write code for you right in Jambot. So pretty cool stuff. Definitely highly recommend checking it out. The next resource I want to talk about this week is a plugin that lets you convert websites into layouts right in Figma. And so if you go back to community and you search for HTML to design, you'll see you want to pull up this first one here from Div Riots. This is a free app, although there's opportunities to buy more, and so you want to save it by clicking into your saves. And the way you access this is by clicking Resources on the top left, and under Plugins, you'll see HTML to Design. And once in here, you'll see that if you want to upgrade to Pro, it'll give you unlimited imports. The free version gives you up to 12 imports every 30 days. But if you want Pro, you can also do custom sizing viewports and some other kind of premium functionality. So this will give you the option to see it in desktop, laptop, tablet, or phone, or custom widths, and light or dark mode. So let's take the Apple website, for example. It's got some motion, but not too much, and otherwise it has some basic cards. So let's see what it does. So just copy apple.com, enter it into import URL, and click import. And you can see it takes about 3 to 5 seconds. I've already imported it so that you don't have to wait here. But as you can see, it brings in all the elements. These cute guys aren't walking here, but they are perfectly nested within an auto layout along with the text. The text is all editable. It's substituted Apple's fonts for Arial just because it didn't have Apple's fonts, but you can download Apple's fonts if you want. And everything is here and editable. It's fairly static. You do get vectors, so these icons and buttons here you can select as a vector and you can move them around. And everything else is basically static type and images that are put into a layout. Here's a carousel, and as you can see, it didn't get the whole carousel. If I try to pull this out, it got this part of this image, but it only got 3 elements of the carousel. But of course, if you wanted the whole thing, you could go to the website and continue to build it out. So pretty cool how much of the website that it actually got, and how much of this is editable and can be used as inspiration. So let's try something harder. What about the iPad Pro website? This has a lot more motion, a lot more scrolling animations, a lot more functionality. As you can see, that kind of blew up a little bit. Type that appeared, things that change as you scroll. So how much of this do you think we're going to be able to get with HTML to design? Similarly, you open your resources, click HTML to design, plug in your URL here, and click import. Once again, it's going to take a little bit longer to do this one because it's got a little bit more to the page to the other one, and I won't make you wait for that. I've already loaded it. And so you can see here it's still beautiful, it's still nested, it still has editable text and vectors. It just doesn't bring in the motion. So it downloads these as images that you can play around with, and leaves a little bit to be desired in terms of what it can do as you're scrolling. So you can see this had a lot of scrolling functionality, and it kind of took 2 different frames of it and gave them both to me without animating. Although you could probably animate them yourself in prototyping. So a little bit static, but still really nice to be able to have all these assets at your fingertips, or have a place to start, or be able to pull these elements into somewhere else without taking screenshots and retyping text and doing it the hard way. So that's it for this week. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you'd like more of the latest Figma updates and resources consolidated into a 10-minute video or less every week. Have a good one.